But there, you can't trust wolves no more nor women.
Don't you mind him, sir,
broke in Mrs. Tom with a cheery laugh.
He's got minding the animals so long that blessed if he ain't like an old wolf himself. But there ain't no harm in him.
Well, sir, it was about 2 hours after feeding yesterday when I first heard the disturbance. I was making up a litter in the monkey house for a young puma which is ill. But when I heard the yelping and howling, I came away straight. There was Bastica tearing like a mad thing at the bars as if he wanted to get out. There wasn't much people about that day, and close at hand was only one man, a tall, thin chap with a hooked nose and a pointed beard with a few white hairs running through it. He had a hard, cold look and red eyes, and it took a sort of mislike to him, for it seemed as if it was him that the animals were getting irritated at. He had white kid gloves on his hands, and he pointed out the animals to me and says,
"Keeper, these wolves seem upset at something."
"Maybe it's you," says I, for I did not like the airs as he gave himself. He didn't get angry as I hoped he would, but he smiled with a kind of insolent smile, with a mouth full of white, sharp teeth.
"Oh no, they wouldn't like me,"
he says. "Oh yes they would," says I, imitating of him. "They always like a bone or two to clean their teeth on about tea time, which you has a bag full." Well, it was an odd thing, but when the animals see us talking, they lie down, and when I went over to Basika, he let me stroke his ears same as ever. That there man came over, and blessed but if he didn't put his hand and stroke the old wolf's ears too. "Take care," says I. "Basika is quick." "Never mind," he says. "I'm used to 'em." "Are you in the business yourself?" I says, taking off my hat. "For a man what trades in wolves and cetera is a good friend to keepers."
"No, not exactly in the business, but I have made pets of several."
I lay quiet, looking out onto my eyelashes in an agony of delightful anticipation.
Listen to them, the children of the night. What music
Welcome to the sexiest show on the internet, the Dracula podcast. I am Lancaster of the House Titmus, or Lancaster for short. Thank you to Adam Stover, Rob, and Martha of Southgate Media, and most of all you for listening. We're bringing you thoughtful and stimulating media reviewing the films, books, music, plays, and personalities that make Stoker's creation so beloved the criticism to inform your purchasing decisions, interesting guests, and the needs of our communities. Drop us a line at audio.dracula@gmail.com. We're all over the place. iTunes, Libsyn, Stitcher, and also on Dracula Audio, no spaces on Twitter and Facebook. And now, no more delays, here's the host of our show, Lawrence. Thank you, Lancaster. This is Lawrence Burgess, or LB. Thank you for tuning in to the Dracula podcast, once again, the sexiest show on the internet. And happy Halloween to everyone out there. Lancaster, how's your Halloween been going? Hell, it was doing fine until I decided to do something I haven't done in many years. What's that? Go trick-or-treating. Trick-or-treating? You took your little kid? Oh, no, not at all. I went myself. I went out trick-or-treating. You went by yourself? Oh, yes, it was fantastic. Going out there and meeting all the little ones, going and getting their candy. I got M&M's, Reese's, Oreos, and all sorts of other things that will send me screaming to the dentist room in due course. Well, Lancaster, I hope it's not another Taco Bell incident, but I'd like to continue on with our culinary delights in a segment called Don't Eat This Shit, one of my favorite segments of the day. So, are you reviewing something else? No, actually, I've changed it up a bit. I'm looking at thedailymeal.com. It was posted in June of this year, sharing with you America's 15 unhealthiest chain restaurant dishes. So if you see this on the menu, run screaming. 15 to 1? Oh yes, from the bottom to the top, or in this case, the worst. Number 15, P.F. Chang's pork fried rice. Number 14, Fuddruckers 1-pound burger. Number 13, Smoothie King Peanut Power plus Chocolate Smoothie. Number 12, Olive Garden's Tour of Italy. Number 11, TGI Fridays New York Cheddar and Bacon Burger. Number 10, Outback Steakhouse Baby Back Ribs with Aussie Fries. Number 9, Red Lobster Crab Linguine Alfredo. Very interesting there. I like Red Lobster on occasion. Number 8, California Pizza Kitchen with Chicken Piccata. Number 7, Chili's Full Rack of Baby Back Ribs. Number 6, Johnny Rockets Smokehouse Double. Number 5, Applebee's 4-cheese mac and cheese with honey pepper chicken tenders. Number 4, IHOP Country Fried Second Eggs with sausage gravy. Oh my goodness. Number 3, Uno Chicago Grill Deep Dish Macaroni and 3 Cheese. Number 2, the Cheesecake Factory Pasta Carbonara with chicken. And the Grand Champion Maggiano's Little Italy Veal Porterhouse with crispy red potatoes. So this website, what does it actually say? Well, it goes into calories, fat, and sodium for this little dish. The worst offender, the Veal Porterhouse with crispy red potatoes from Maggiano's Little Italy, has 2,320 calories, 146 grams of fat, and a whopping 3,880 milligrams of sodium. If you're going out for Halloween, be sure not to eat these dishes or grab yourself a brand new pair of undies, because when it comes out, it's going to be awful and disgusting. Thank you, Lancaster, and that was Don't Eat This Shit. And those 15 dishes, again, stay away from them. Are you ready over there? I'm ready. It's time, ladies and gentlemen, for the news around the globe. This first article is from BBC.com on October 25th of this year. Very recent. The Dracula Dog Whitby Walking Tour application launched. A new application exploring the legend behind the black dog in Bram Stoker's seminal horror novel Dracula has been launched, coinciding with the 125th anniversary of Stoker's visit to Whitby, taking visitors all over the place on a tour linked to the mythical dog. Also including an interactive map and 5 interesting places to go. They use sound, images, and dialogue to relate the haunting stories attached to 13 locations in total. Blood-chilling. And it also talks about the bar guest. Diane Purkis, professor of English Lit at Keble College, Oxford, said, quote, "The bar guest is a term given to the apparition of a great black, generally thought to be a supernatural dog. In other parts of England known as the black dog, and some believe to be the devil in dog form, so going in with the word Dracula, which of course means devil or son of the devil or dragon, or son of the dragon, as one might interpret. That is the Barguest Trail application on a 6-mile stretch of the Cleveland Way. Check it out today, ladies and gentlemen. Also from the WallStreetJournal.com, we find that there's a television review for Vampire Legend, Digging Up Dracula's, a PBS documentary, soon to be on the tube. Unlike countless past and largely misleading attempts to root the belief in vampires in Romania, this film focuses on the origin of the legend beginning in medieval England. It goes into detail of how Dacre Stoker, who appears here as a, quote, energetic spirit guide to the realm of his ancestor Bram Stoker, relied on such ancient English folk tales and records when he wrote his 1897 novel. In summation, it says that the ancient belief in vampirism as an understandable reaction to the then terrible diseases and a legitimate fear of the night at a time when only a candle or fire at the end of a torch stick could pierce total darkness. When pestilence struck, why not blame it on an angry ancestor? And that angry ancestor was caught up in what we know as deviant burials. This includes people interred with the head cut off and placed at the legs. Goodness gracious! Bulgaria, Italy, ancient graves where a skeleton had a blade rammed post-mortem through the neck or bricked force into its mouth. Goodness gracious, he must have had Taco Bell too. And that's Vampire Legend TV review Digging Up Draculas from the Wall Street Journal. And that was news from around the globe. Thank you, Lancaster. You're quite welcome. And we'll be back at you after a short break, and here's a clip from Dracula the audio drama. Enjoy.
I was looking at a very beautiful girl in a big cartwheel hat sitting in a Victoria outside Giuliano's, when I felt Jonathan clutch my arm so tight that he hurt me, and he said under his breath,
My God.
I am always anxious about Jonathan, for I fear that some nervous fit may upset him again. So I turned to him quickly and asked him what it was that disturbed him. He was very pale, and his eyes seemed bulging out as if half in terror, half in amazement. He gazed at a tall, thin man with a beaky nose and black moustache and pointed beard, who was also observing the pretty girl. He was looking at her so hard that he did not see either of us, and so I had a good view of him. His face was not a good face. It was hard and cruel and sensual, and his big white teeth, that looked all the whiter because his lips were so red, were pointed like an animal's. Jonathan kept staring at him, till I was afraid he would notice. I feared he might take it ill. He looked so fierce and nasty. I asked Jonathan why he was disturbed, and he answered, evidently thinking that I knew as much about it as he did.
Do you see who it is?
No, dear, I don't know him. Who is it? His answer seemed to shock and thrill me, for it was said as if he did not know that it was to me, Mina, to whom he was speaking.
It is the man himself.
And that was a clip from Dracula the audio drama, available right now, $39.99 at drakesnestentertainment.com. Grab your copy today. Folks, it is value. 16.8 hours of Stoker's vision coming to life with a full voice cast, musical score, sound effects, the whole shebang. You have never heard anything like this. It is cinema for your ears. And if you don't believe us, go ahead and listen to those clips, and we've got more coming. Lots of things in the Dracula inbox, trying to find out what to watch and how to watch them. We've covered the Universal Monsters franchise lasting from Phantom of the Opera to Creature from the Black Lagoon, and also we covered the Dracula Hammer series, starting off with Terence Fisher's Horror of Dracula and ending with the memorable Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires. Oh my gracious, what an awful film. You're being very kind to it. It's not the worst thing Hammer has produced, and I actually think that was the Satanic Rites of Dracula in 1973. It's hard to argue with that one. What an idiotic film, goodness gracious. Who can explain why are there so many motorcycles in that film? It makes no sense. In any case, I know a lot of you are stuck. You don't know what to watch. It's hard to research these things. You don't have time. But once a year, Halloween comes around, and you're trying to find out what in the world to watch. Look no further. Right here on the Dracula podcast, I'm going to give you my top 25 horror films. I've done years of research with these, and hopefully I'll surprise you with a few of these. They're ranging all sorts of decades, and you want to go ahead and get right into that, Lancaster? Can I have some cool music? Because I have to give you cool music, so would you have some cool music playing with my top 25 horror films straight from me to you? Thank you so much, and here we go. Starting off with number 25, the 1976 film The Omen, directed by Richard Donner. Still a creep fest, very interesting shots, a little bit slow at times, but very good film, and it's available on Blu-ray. Not the greatest transfer, but still good. Number 24, The Devil's Advocate, 1997, directed by Taylor Hackford. I like this film. Not a lot of people do, but I love Al Pacino's performance as the devil. It's over the top, and I think Keanu Reeves did a decent job in this film. It's one of the few films where he gets to not play Keanu Reeves and someone outside his range. He did a very good job. Number 23 is actually the scariest film I've ever seen, and I saw it in theaters, Event Horizon. It was 1997. It's directed by Paul W.S. Anderson. And he's a director that gets a lot of flack for his silliness, but this is one film that's not silly. It's Event Horizon. It is absolutely terrifying. Sam Neill, Lawrence Fishburne, takes place outer space. It is really creepy, and I don't want to spoil anything for you, but go ahead and watch that one. Number 23 is the only film concerning zombies on my list. It is the 2002 film 28 Days Later, directed by Danny Boyle, starring Cillian Murphy of Batman Begins fame. And why I like this film is because it's about survival. It's different. It's a different scope. It's well told, and it doesn't take itself too much in the zombie trope. It was before the Walking Dead mania started and all sorts of ridiculous things. I'm not a fan of zombies, I'm just not. I'm not terrified at creatures that can walk slow and that eat brains. Really not at all. I happen to like The Walking Dead. Why would you say such things? I know I'm getting off topic right here, but here's the thing about The Walking Dead. I liked the first season, directed by Frank Darabont, and he was the guy behind The Green Mile and Shawshank Redemption, both of which are two of my favorite films. Why I don't like The Walking Dead? Because after the I'm going to spoil it for you, and if you haven't been spoiled by The Walking Dead, too bad, you're not missing much. I'm going to give you the whole show here in a nutshell. Basically, everyone is infected with this virus, and when they die, they become zombies, or they like to call them walkers. So here's the thing. If everyone is infected, then there's going to be one of two endings. Either one, everyone dies, or two, they find a cure. That's not very interesting, and when they let that go, I have zero interest in watching the show. But in any case, a good film involving zombies is 28 Days Later, my 22nd favorite horror film, 2002, directed by Danny Boyle. Solid piece. Number 21 is the 1979 John Badham version of Dracula. I know the disco capes and the freaky light show, but I'm telling you something, it's very classy, it's well done. It's more like Tristan and Isolde, it's romantic. They take the romance thing to the extreme and they know what it is and it works. Oh, and by the way, John Williams does the score. Number 20, The Monster Squad, 1987, Fred Dekker. I consider this a horror film, you could also consider it a comedy film. The one thing about Duncan, the man that plays Dracula, he's the one guy that totally gets the attitude. Number 18, Jaws, 1975, Steven Spielberg. If you like Blu-ray restorations, this is why Universal is great. If you haven't seen Jaws in 1080p since they re-released it, you're doing yourself an injustice. This is an amazing piece, and I actually jumped out of my seat when I saw that film, and I knew what was going to happen. It's a great, fantastic Blu-ray revival. You've got to pick this up in blue, and I have it. It's unbelievable. Number 19, Nosferatu the Vampire. We have covered that, the 1979 version, directed by Werner Herzog. Number 17, The Exorcist. You've all seen this, 1973, William Friedkin. A little bit low on the list, you might think, but I thought at times the pace dragged. I thought sometimes they were trying a little bit too hard. I think it works better as a novel, but it's still a great film. Number 16, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Another one which is a horror/comedy, but it's got Bela Lugosi. It's got Lon Chaney Jr. It's funny. To this day, I still can laugh about it. Number 15, The Bride of Frankenstein, directed by James Whale, made in 1935. It's a touching film. John Johnson and I have discussed this. There's no reason why you shouldn't watch it. We've also discussed number 14, Phantom of the Opera, 1943, directed by Arthur Lubin, the musical version, and what I consider to be the best musical version of Phantom of the Opera. Number 13, James Whale, Frankenstein, 1931. I give this film a slight nod over The Bride because I like the creepiness of it. I like its subtlety. And we've also discussed number 12, which is The Phantom of the Opera, 1925 by Rupert Julian. We've also discussed number 11, The Wolfman, 1941, George Wagner, done on a B film budget, but it is not a B film. This is a grade A film starring Lon Chaney and Claude Rains, two of the kings of Universal horror. Number 10, The Shining, Jack Nicholson, 1980, Stanley Kubrick. I read the novel a couple times, and I love the novel, and I love that book. Stanley Kubrick takes a lot of liberty with the book. A lot of liberty. But here's the strange thing. This is one of the very few times where they took a lot of liberty with someone's property, and it's still a great piece. It's scenic, atmospheric. I like the sense of claustrophobia despite the space. Be sure to check The Shining out. At number 9, Son of Frankenstein, my favorite, 1939, directed by Roland V. Lee. We've discussed that, and we've also talked about with John Johnson. Number 8, The Mummy, 1932, directed by Karl Freund. Number 7 is the most faithful adaptation of the Dracula story, Count Dracula, 1977, directed by Philip Saville, starring Louis Jourdan and Frank Finlay. They do combine characters in this, and sometimes the romance lingers on a little bit too long, but this is the closest version to the book. Number 6 is my favorite film by James Whale. It's The Invisible Man, 1933. It makes me laugh. I love the special effects. And once again, Claude Rains in a great Universal horror film. And number 5, I adore this film. It's Terence Fisher's 1961 The Curse of the Werewolf. It is available in Blu-ray in a foreign release, but this film's got it all. It is my favorite Hammer film by far. It's my favorite werewolf film. I think it does things that no other Hammer film has done. It takes a lot of risks in the plot. I love it. I love The Curse of the Werewolf. I can watch it multiple times during the year, still find something new, and still feel satisfied. And also don't forget that Oliver Reed stars in that film. But it gets even better at number 4, The Raven, 1935, directed by Louis Friedlander. We've discussed this in detail with John Johnson, and you know why I love this film. Bela Lugosi is given a fantastic role, and he knocks it out of the park, and Boris Karloff's also in it. Universal, get off your butts and put that thing in Blu-ray on 1080p, The Raven, right now. Number 3, Bram Stoker's Dracula, 1992, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. Bram Stoker's Dracula is the only Dracula film to have won an Oscar. In fact, it's won multiple Oscars. Keanu Reeves stinks as Jonathan Harker. We get that. It takes liberties from the book. Dracula is more romantic than what I would like. But the special effects, the old school film techniques, from Winona Ryder to Gary Oldman to Anthony Hopkins, it is a very memorable piece. Be sure to check out the new 4K scan. Number 2, I'm going with a foreign film. It's the 2008 film directed by Thomas Alfredson, Let the Right One In. This is an extremely touching piece about bullying, about losing your place in the world, about solitude. And it's not depressing like Interview with a Vampire. It's not. It's actually very hopeful. And because it takes place in a decade like the 80s, it's easier to get involved with the story than it is Interview with a Vampire. But I also like that one. But number 2, Let the Right One In. It is a piece that will rip at your heartstrings. And my number 1 all-time favorite horror film is, of course, the 1931 version of Dracula, directed by Todd Browning. We've gone over this in great detail. No need to retread it. Go ahead and pick that up, Blu-ray 1080p, because that's what Universal does best. They do restoration right. Okay, folks, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back at you with the Dracula podcast.
Sister, come to us.
In fear, I turned to my poor Madamina, and my heart with gladness leapt like flame. For oh, the terror in her sweet eyes, the repulsion, the horror told a story to my heart that was all of hope. God be saint, she was not yet of sin. I seized some of the firewood which was by me, and holding out some of the wafer, advanced on them towards the fire. They drew back before me and laughed their low, horrid laugh. Back away, say I! In the name of God the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, remove yourselves from this so hallowed circle. Begone, you evil vampires! Hellcats, I rebuke thee, you hosts of darkness! Remove yourselves! Begone, you vile creatures of hell! I banish thee, horse of darkness, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Be gone!
We're back at the Dracula podcast, and we thank you for joining in on our Halloween 2015 episode. Lancaster, how you feeling over there? Well, Lawrence, I feel not too bad, but I would like to extend my sincerest consolation, condolences, and heartfelt feelings to you. What are you talking about? Does 58-0 mean anything to you, Mr. Burgess? Yes, it does. Well, that's why. I feel very sorry for you, actually. Well, I haven't watched them since last year. Why not? I normally don't do this, but I'm going to digress. I am a lifelong Miami Hurricane fan. I've watched them in the 80s, I've watched them in the 90s, and I watched them in 2001 and they were tearing it up. the Miami Hurricanes are the worst coached team in the NCAA. We have the best players, all the draft statistics back it up. But here's the thing. In Al Golden's tenure, which is now 53 games, here's his record. He's 17-19 in ACC, the worst of the major conferences. Versus postseason top 25 teams, he's 0-12. Versus 8-win teams, he's 3-13, and 6-win teams, he's 15-16, all losing records. He allows 20 points 63% of the time, 30 39% of the time, and 40 17% of the time. So that means they're giving up a ton of points every single game. An overall record with 31-22, 0 bowl wins, 0 coastal titles, 0 ACC titles. And that's in year 5. Al Golden's got to go. He's got to go today. And to the Miami Board of Trustees, you better fire him, because I'm not spending one more dime on your bloody program. I don't support that kind of garbage. I'm very sorry to open such a raw wound. I just wanted to extend my... I understand, thank you. But in any case, folks, sorry for the mini diatribe. Halloween 2015 is right here. We hope you've enjoyed it. Please be safe. Don't go out and egg cars. If you do want to cause mischief, go out and do it to rude people and nasty people. And thank you all once again. If you want to check us out on our archives, go to southgatemediagroup.com. That's southgatemediagroup.com. There you'll find all our episodes and a ton of good content. From me, Lancaster, and the Dracula podcast, we'd like to extend to you and yours a most safe, happy, and healthy Halloween.
What is it, Captain? What is it?
After a few seconds, he rushed up on deck with his flannels. He looked wild-eyed and haggard. I greatly feared his reasons has given way. He came close to me and whispered hoarsely with his mouth to my ear, as though fearing the very air might hear.
It is here. I know it now. On the watch last night, I saw it. Like a man, tall and thin, and ghastly pale. It was in the bows, and looking out, I crept up behind it, gave it my knife. But my knife went through it, empty as the air.
As he spoke, he took his knife and drove it savagely into space. Then he went on.
But it is here, and I'll find it. It is in the hold, perhaps in one of those boxes. I'll unscrew them one by